Breaking news: Cowboys make big moves. The Dallas Cowboys have just signed veteran defensive end Al-Quadin Muhammad in response to the injury of Sam Williams. But that's not all. Rumor has it, they're also set to bring Shaka Toney into the mix. What does this mean for the team's defensive strategy? Tune in to find out the latest updates, how these additions will impact the Cowboys season, and what it all means for their Super Bowl aspirations. Hey there, Cowboys Nation! Welcome to Dallas Cowboys Fan, your ultimate destination for all things America's team. Whether you bleed blue and silver or are just starting to catch Cowboys fever, this is the place. If you are a die-hard fan, please make sure to subscribe for more latest news and updates of your favorite team. Alright, let's jump right in. The big headline today: the Dallas Cowboys have officially signed defensive end Al-Quadin Muhammad. But that's not all, folks. There are strong indications that they're also set to bring in Shaka Toney. These moves come on the heels of an unfortunate injury to Sam Williams, which has left a gap in the Cowboys' defensive lineup. Let's break this down piece by piece and really dive into what these moves mean for America's team. First up, Al-Quadin Muhammad. Now, if you're not familiar with Muhammad, let me give you a quick rundown. He's a 6'4", 250-pound defensive end who's been in the league since 2017. Muhammad was originally drafted by the New Orleans Saints in the 6th round, but he's bounced around a bit since then. Most recently, Muhammad spent the 2022 season with the Chicago Bears, where he started all 16 games he appeared in. His stats from last year? 29 tackles, including 1 sack and 3 tackles for loss. Now, those numbers might not jump off the page at you, but there's more to Muhammad's game than just the stat sheet. What Muhammad brings to the table is experience and versatility. He's played in both 4-3 and 3-4 defensive schemes, which gives defensive coordinator Dan Quinn some flexibility in how he uses him. Muhammad has a quick first step and good hand usage, which allows him to be disruptive in both the run and pass game. But here's where it gets really interesting. Muhammad has a connection to our coaching staff. He played under defensive line coach Aiden Durda when both were with the Atlanta Falcons in 2020. That familiarity could help Muhammad hit the ground running in Dallas. Now, let's talk about why the Cowboys made this move. As I mentioned earlier, Sam Williams suffered an injury recently. Williams, who was entering his second year with the team, was expected to take a significant step forward this season. He showed flashes of brilliance as a rookie, recording 4 sacks and forcing 3 fumbles in limited playing time. Williams' injury is reportedly a shoulder issue, and while the team hasn't released an official timeline for his return, it's serious enough that they felt the need to bring in reinforcements. This is a tough break for Williams and the Cowboys, as many were expecting him to have a breakout year. The loss of Williams creates a void in the Cowboys' pass rush rotation. Remember, Dallas relies heavily on rotating their defensive linemen to keep them fresh throughout the game. With Williams out, they needed someone who could step in and contribute immediately. That's where Muhammad comes in. He's a veteran presence who knows how to prepare and what it takes to succeed in the NFL. While he may not be a prolific sack artist, he's consistently been able to generate pressure and disrupt offensive game plans. But the Cowboys aren't stopping there. Reports are swirling that they're also set to sign Shaka Toney. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Toney, like Muhammad, is a defensive end. He was drafted in the 7th round by the Washington Commanders in 2021 and spent 2 seasons there before being waived earlier this year. Toney is younger than Muhammad at 25 years old, and he brings a different skill set to the table. At Penn State, Toney was known for his explosiveness off the edge. He's got a quick first step and good bend, which allows him to get around offensive tackles. In his 2 years with Washington, Toney didn't see a ton of playing time, but he did show flashes of potential. So why are the Cowboys interested in Toney? Well, it's all about upside. While Muhammad is a known quantity who can contribute right away, Toney is more of a project with high potential. The Cowboys' coaching staff, particularly Dan Quinn, has a reputation for developing defensive talent. They likely see Toney as a player they can mold into a valuable contributor. Now, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. What do these moves tell us about the Cowboys' defensive strategy and their plans for the upcoming season? First and foremost, it shows that the front office is committed to maintaining a strong pass rush. The Cowboys' defense thrived last year in large part due to their ability to pressure the quarterback. With players like Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence leading the charge, Dallas finished 7th in the league in sacks last season. By bringing in Muhammad and potentially Toney, the Cowboys are ensuring that they have depth at the defensive end position. This is crucial in today's NFL, where offenses are passing more than ever. Having fresh legs to rush the passer in the fourth quarter can be the difference between winning and losing close games. Secondly, these moves highlight the importance of scheme fit in Dan Quinn's defense. Both Muhammad and Toney have attributes that align with what Quinn looks for in his defensive ends. They're athletic, they can play in space, and they have the potential to be disruptive. Quinn's defense is predicated on creating chaos and confusion for opposing offenses. By having multiple players who can line up in different spots and execute various roles, it becomes much harder for offenses to game plan against the Cowboys. Now, let's talk about how these signings might impact the rest of the roster. The Cowboys currently have a pretty crowded defensive line room. Besides the injured Sam Williams, they've got Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler Jr., and Chauncey Golston, among others. The addition of Muhammad and potentially Toney could put pressure on some of these other players. It's possible we could see some tough roster decisions in the coming weeks as the team tries to find the right balance and mix of players. One player to keep an eye on is Terrell Basham. Basham has been a solid rotational piece for the Cowboys over the past couple of years, but with these new additions, his spot on the roster could be in jeopardy. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out in training camp and preseason. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. These aren't big-name signings. Why should we be excited? And that's a fair question. But let me tell you why I think these moves are significant. First off, it shows that the Cowboys' front office is proactive. They didn't wait for Williams' injury to become a major issue. They identified the problem and moved quickly to address it. That's the kind of decision-making you want to see from a team with Super Bowl aspirations. Secondly, these signings demonstrate the Cowboys' commitment to their defensive identity. Last year, the defense was a strength of the team. By continuing to invest in the defensive line, they're doubling down on what worked. So what's next for the Cowboys? Well, training camp is right around the corner, and that's where we'll really start to see how these new pieces fit into the puzzle. Keep an eye on reports coming out of camp about how Muhammad and potentially Toney are acclimating to the team and the scheme. All right, Cowboys Nation, that's all for today. We've covered a lot of ground, from the signing of Al-Quadin Muhammad to the potential addition of Shaka Toney, and what it all means for the team moving forward. What do you think about these moves? Are you excited to see what Muhammad and potentially Toney can bring to the team? Or are you more concerned about Sam Williams' injury? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more Cowboys content. We'll be bringing you all the latest news and analysis throughout training camp and into the season.